Yeah, I feel so blessed, can you tell, like to be married to this amazing man. Like he's so complete, you know, like everything that I always wanted. Like we really have a transparent, we have an authentic, we have an honest, deep connected relationship with each other. And just really when I say deep connected, I mean deep connected. Right? Like, we know everything about each other and we celebrate that. You know, it's not just about like looking at the bright side every single time, right? But also just being there, holding each other as what we call shadows, which just are the judgments and the criticisms, and just really, babe, I really have unconditional love with you. I feel so taken care of and cherished by this man and supported. Yeah. And of course, like I wouldn't have been able to attract such an amazing man into my life if I hadn't been on my own journey of transformation and being in dark moments, or some I call the dark night of the soul. And so for me, like I said, for me everything started in Eastern Germany. And I grew up in an Eastern German household, often an emotionally absent mom, and an emotionally manipulative dad. And what that meant was words like, I love you, parlez-vous français, were like a foreign language. They were not even, there was no such a words in our household. So imagine, hugs were also as common as, I would say, Christmas and Thanksgiving falling on the same day. So imagine, a lot of you are moms, right? I know. So imagine like when you're 18 months old, right? How small they are, you know? So I was 18 months old and I was trying to crawl to my mom's bed. You know how they can barely reach the mattress, and so I was trying to crawl in there, and she was like turning her back to me, and she yelled, "Störe ich nicht!" And in that moment, I knew I'm not safe. I'm not safe. I can't ask for what I want. It's not gonna be met. So can you imagine, like you're 18 months old, so now I'm in this environment and of a dad on top of it who would always tell me as soon as I gained some confidence, and I was like, I have a really good idea, Dad. Who do you think you are? So that's how I would be greeted. So just picture growing up in a household like that, where my confidence was, and where my ability was to be open, right? So I made a decision. I'm going to be independent, Rochelle. I'm going to be independent. And I'm going to make sure that I don't need anybody. I went grocery shopping by myself by the time I was 8 years old. Yeah. That's how independent I was, and I pride myself in it. But of course, it just carried on. My heart started to close more and more, and had a shell around me. I had a real shell that I didn't let anybody in. And so what actually ended up happening, actually manifested in acne. My whole face was like a crust, literally like a shell. So I manifested on every possible level. I started to gain weight, 10 pounds, 20 pounds, 30 pounds. And now I just feel ugly. I feel undesired. I feel, does anybody care? Does anybody care? Because my parents don't. The outside world would just make fun of me. Or like a child would say, Dad, what does this woman have in her face? So I became even more insecure. Until I got to this point where I was really playing with that idea. What would happen if I would leave this planet? What if I would just end? Would anybody care? And so that's when I knew something had to change. And I started to attract emotionally unavailable men on top of that. I forgot to mention that piece, right? So of course in dating, it was a total disaster, right? And if I say emotionally unavailable, I mean, he didn't text me back, right? And we laughed, but yet it was devastating because I got my hopes up. right? Anybody relate? Like you get your hopes up. You're like, this could be the one, right? This might be the one for me. And then we're sitting there and I'm waiting for the text message, and I analyzed my text message, right? And I called a friend and I said, like, did I say, should I have written it with a smiley face, or should I have not said an exclamation mark, right? So I got so in my head about this, right? And nothing was working. So I got myself out of Germany. I said, I gotta get out of here. Remember, I went on a walk with my mom, said, Mom, I can't grow. I can't transform and become who I really meant to become and really blossom, what Brody described, if I stay here. So I left Germany by myself with like a little more than $100 in my pocket and got myself to the US, got myself into UC Berkeley because I was obsessed. I wanted to figure out what is wrong, like why am I having those dynamics in my romantic relationships, Sydney, right? Like why is it this playing out the same way how I have it in my parents, with my parents? Why is it translating into my romantic relationships with men? How did that make any sense? So I studied attachment styles that you will hear later on this weekend, and I studied everything I could get my hands on in terms of books, seminars, workshops, those kind of environments. I would be in every single weekend. I'm not kidding. My friends would always make fun of me and would say, oh, Antia, you don't find him in a bar, in a restaurant on a weekend. You would find him in a seminar, right? So that would be your best chance to meet me. And here was the thing. I was already helping lots of women like you, Joan, like you, Dina, to find to find the right man for them. In I led little support groups and coaching groups because I learned so much, right? So I accumulated so much knowledge. And it worked. They attracted their men, but it wasn't happening for me. And I felt like now it's been 10 years of being single, right? Never was in a long-term relationship. And I'm looking back and I'm wondering, I'm wasting my time. Oh my God. If it's gone 10 years, who tells me it's not going to go like this the next 10 years? Anybody ever had that thought, right? Like, you know, the past does equal the future. It's scary, right? It was so scary. And that's when I remember a specific moment. I woke up one Sunday morning, I remembered I got another text message, an empty promise, right? I know lots of you relate here, of a man who told me, oh yeah, he's gonna ask me out on a date, and it never happened. But I made a decision because I became clear, right? I gained clarity, and I claimed commitment that I don't have to put up with this anymore. I don't have to learn another lesson. I don't have to be more patient. I just have to take a stand for myself. I have to say the next man I meet, the man that I'm supposed to be with, knows right away. He's not questioning, doubting, disappearing. He knows right away. And that's when I hired a one-on-one mentor for myself, who really helped me to open my heart and become congruent inside of myself. Because so many times I was sending mixed signals. Many of you might relate to that. You want a relationship, but then you might say something wrong when the right man comes along. That was me, being vulnerable without looking weak, and truly, truly trusting myself. And from that moment forward, things dramatically changed for me. I started to attract quality men, available men, second dates, because I was a lot of first daters, right? But it didn't lead to second date. And eventually met this amazing man here, right next to me.
Popped out also.
Yeah, you just popped out, right?